Hello, Rekha. Rekha, I currently have seven presenters and we have seven stations as well. But there are chances sometimes our participants do get missing. So if one of our active participant will not be there, I'll definitely give you a chance on the sixth or seventh station. Okay?
Okay, doctor, no issue.
Okay. Thank you for joining in. Visible to everyone.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
Kim, can you
can.
see it? Amna? Okay. So today basically the topic was urogynecology. So I thought that I should give you a slight concept about the urodynamics as well. Because in the part three, it is sometimes difficult to interpret the correct, sometimes the mixed incontinence. Everyone please mute the mic, I would request. Okay, so in urogynecology, urodynamics concept is also vast, and I'm going to describe that for you before we start our proper part three lecture. So I have invited many of the part one students we have and many of the part two students we have in today's presentation. So I welcome you all to the presentation. So I'm going to start with the urodynamics, and after the presentation of urodynamics, we will be having a feedback session of part three students by Dr. Sana and me. Okay, so let's study that what are some prerequisites why we do the urodynamics or what things should be there before we go for the urodynamics. The first thing is that previously it was thought that the antimuscarinics have to be stopped before going for the urodynamics. But according to the current guidelines, it is only the clinicians who can decide that whether the antimuscarinics should be stopped or they should not be stopped. Then the second prerequisite is the urine dipstick test because we have to rule out any kind of urinary tract infection because sometimes the symptoms like sometimes the patient can have urgency or patient can have some symptoms like that and it is only due to the urine infection. So we have to rule that out. And the third thing is that the prolapse should be reduced because it can also hinder with the urodynamics. So these are a few prerequisites of urodynamics. Okay, so then we have certain indications for urodynamics, like if we are going for any surgery for urge incontinence or stress urinary incontinence, we have to do urodynamics. Sometimes, if there is one condition in which urodynamics has no role, when the stress urinary incontinence is there and you are quite sure on the patient's symptoms that it is the case of stress urinary incontinence, in that case, there is no need for there is no need for urodynamic testing. So these are a few indications on which we do the urodynamics, which include that if there is any urge incontinence before the surgery, or if you are going for the surgery for stress urinary incontinence, but you are not sure that what is the type, whether it is a mixed type or what type it is. And if there are any voiding dysfunctions, if there is prolapse, or if there is any previous history of stress urinary incontinence surgery, and you have to perform a surgery again. So all these indications are from the NICE guideline, and the top one is from the TOG article. Okay, so urodynamics basically includes three components. Two top ones are the most important ones for us because these are asked in exam. One is the uroflowmetry, which is a non-invasive one, and one is the cystometry, which is an invasive one. The other ones are more complex and they are not usually asked during part three or part two exams. You only need to know the first two. So first we are going to start with the uroflowmetry. So the concept of uroflowmetry is that it is not an invasive test. It is simply that there will be a commode and the patient will be sitting on the commode or the patient will be on the commode and they will pass the urine. But normally it is tried that we provide them with a slightly comfortable environment so that they can void comfortably because in stressful situation the interpretations may also vary. So when the patient voids, we notice two things. First one is the volume of urine that is voided, and the second one is the time in which it is voided. Milliliter means that how much urine is voided, what is the volume, and second means in how much time it is voided. So it shows that flow rate. Basically, the voided urine volume and the time they both show the flow rate. with the curve as well. So this is simple commode, and the patient voids into a funnel, and the flow meter records the volume per unit time. Okay, so you must have seen this diagram in the TOG article. It is a familiar one. So this diagram is from the TOG article graph. This shows the volume. You can see that here the volume end, which means that 250 is the volume that the patient voided. Shows the flow meter or the flow volume, flow rate. So this one is 250. This is normal value. Anything above 200 is normal, which means that if the patient voids more than 200 milliliters, it is a normal value. And the flow rate. And the normal value should be 20, then it means that it is normal value. So have you understood it? Okay. So this is a flow curve that I'm going to show you. You can, and this is the curve. So this should be, according to the TOG article, it should be between 20 to 35 or 36, which means that 20 is the upper limit. Okay. So here you can see on the graph that how it looks on the graph. When there is voiding phase of the graph, it looks like this. One curve is going like this, bell-shaped one, volume, according to the TOG article, more than 20 milliliter per second, and it should be having a bell-shaped curve. Okay, so these are a few abnormal things that normally you see that normal graph is a curve-shaped graph or a bell-shaped graph. So what happens when the graph is not like that? Sometimes it is like this, sometimes this. This means that there is basically some obstruction in the outflow. When it forms a plateau and it is below 20 Qmax, it means that there is some stricture. And when there is very high peak, then this may mean that there is some decruiser overactivity. So these are some abnormal forms, and I will be showing each of them in detail. Okay, so here you can see that this is the normal bell shape, normal. Okay. So this is again a reduced pattern. This may show obstruction. This shows some obstruction. This likely due to stricture or something like that. Here you can see that it is a reduced pattern, reduced flattened pattern. Here you can see interrupted one. This one is mostly due to stricture. This one is mostly due to. So these are some abnormal forms, and I will show you that where on the urodynamic curve you can see them. So I hope everyone has understood the uroflowmetry. Basically, on the cytometry or the cystometry graph, on the very side of it, it is shown. This graph of uroflowmetry is also shown. When we will be reading cystometry graphs, I will show you that. So, anyone has any questions up till now?
Yeah, and one thing I would like to add, dear students, that if anything is bothering, you can ask now, because in the recent recalls, they have been asking about the cystogram and the patterns. So it is very important that you understand that on cystogram and on urogram, what patterns do we see, and what is what graph shows you the flow meter, what graph shows you the flow rate. So you have to understand the names. That is different name for every graph, and what it suggests and what it shows. So it is a very important station regarding exam. You have to clear your concepts today. So because there are many types of cystograms, some are video cystourethrogram. So clear your concepts today so that in exam, if any graph comes, you are able to tell that this is cystogram, this is urogram, this is video cystourethrogram. So if you have any queries, feel free to ask. You can continue, I guess, Dr. Nazish. Students are understanding well.
Okay, so now we are going to study the cystometry. As previously I told you that the uroflowmetry, it was a non-invasive one. Okay, so I told you that it is a non-invasive one. Why it is non-invasive? Because simply the patient is sitting on a commode and they are just passing the urine and we make a graph out of it. So it is a non-invasive test. While cystometry is an invasive test, here you can see we have a drip hanging and there are some transducers inside. So there are written that are very important to read a urodynamic graph. P vesicle, which means the pressure of the vesicle. Okay, so or the pressure of the urethra. Okay, so P abdominal means that it is the pressure of abdomen, and P difference between these two values. The bladder for P vesicle, and for P abdominal, we can either pass a transducer in the vagina, or sometimes if it is not possible, then we can pass it in the rectum as well. For example, in some unmarried female, if we are not having an access to vagina, we can pass it in the rectum as well to measure the abdominal pressure. So the water is filled inside or saline is filled inside, and how it is filled. Basically, there is a rate specified in the TOG article. Currently, we have the rate is such that it is 10% of the post-voided volume. I told you that the post-voided volume should be around 200 or more than 200, which means that the 10% of 200 is 20. So almost 20 milliliter per minute is the speed with which the water is filled. The normal physiological speed with which the bladder fills is almost 1 to 2 milliliter per minute. But in the test setting, we cannot
Please mute your mics.
Please mute your mic.
mics. Everyone. Dr. Uzma, please mute your mic.
Okay, so in the cystometry, I told you that we have to fill the bladder. So the bladder has to be filled at the rate of almost 10% of the post-voided volume, which means that if the voided volume is 200, this means that 20 milliliter per minute will be the speed. Because we cannot be too speedy in filling because we will miss many things. And we cannot be too slow because it is a test setting. So we have to we have to find some value which is not too fast and which is not too slow. So the talk mentions that the speed should be 10% of the voided volume, which means that if the voided volume is 250, it will be 25 milliliter. Tell you this in all the P abdominal, which is abdominal pressure, and P detrusor, which is the difference of these two. For P vesical, we have to put a transducer inside the bladder. For P abdominal, we have to put it inside the vagina or inside the rectum, and P detrusor is the difference. Let me show you here. So here, vesical and P abdominal. Okay, so this is what detrusor pressure is. So the talk gives us this equation as well. Okay, so here you can see that here one concept is also very important. Here you can see P vesical, P detrusor. There is a bladder catheter. For P abdominal, there is a rectal. Here you can see phase, and the phase normally when the P vesical increases, the P abdominal increases with any cough or anything. I will be explaining that in a while. And this is the voiding phase. So in the voiding phase, that it is a bell-shaped curve. As I told you that on all the graphs of cystometrogram, the Euroflow meter graph is also there. So you can see in the voiding phase, this is a bell-shaped graph that is shown. Okay, so basically these are a few pressures shown. You can see that this one is, you also need to remember that what are the normal values for the P detrusor. The P detrusor's normal values are between 5 to 15 in the filling phase and 70 up to 70 in the voiding phase. So you can see that in the filling phase, and this one is the bladder pressure, this is the detrusor, and this one is the rectal or abdominal pressure. Pressure is normal, and in the voiding phase it goes up to 70. And this one is the flow meter graph. This is the bell-shaped one. Okay, so these are the normal values for P vesical. The normal value is 5 to 50. For P abdominal, it is 5 to 50, and P vesical 5 to 15 is the normal value in the filling phase, and 70 is the normal value in the voiding phase. You need to remember these values because you have to pick that where we are having a problem. So P detrusor's values are most important ones. So you have to remember that they are between 5 to 15 in the filling phase and up to 70 in the voiding phase. Okay, so how we do the interpretations? When there is a filling phase, the patient is asked to cough, and we record this because there are different conditions, like there is stress urinary incontinence, where whenever the patient coughs, there is a leak. So we have to ask the patient to cough so that we can see that how the bladder pressure, how the vesical pressure, how the abdominal pressure, and how the detrusor pressure are changing respectively, so that we can interpret the graphs. Okay, so this is a normal graph that is shown, and in exam, usually some scary graphs come and we are really upset at what we do, but today I'm going to really make it easier for you. So you can see here, let me adjust my screen. Okay, so you can see here, this is the vesical pressure. Okay, P vesical, which means the bladder pressure. This is P abdominal, and this is P detrusor. Okay, wherever CG is written, CG is written on the top, you can see. So wherever CG is written, CG means that this is CG. So wherever you can see that CG is written, this means that the patient is asked to cough. So you can see that wherever the patient is coughing, the vesical and abdominal pressure is, but the detrusor pressure remains normal, because detrusor pressure is basically a difference between these two. So it remains normal. Here you can see the patient is coughing, the P vesical and P abdominal are raising. Here you can see patient is coughing, P vesical and P abdominal are raising, but P detrusor is normal. So this is how it looks like. And in the voiding phase, all of them rise somewhat. The P detrusor rises, this rises, they all rise. Okay. And this is the Euroflow meter graph. Here you can see the bell-shaped curve, and here you can see the voided volume. I hope I could make it clear for all of you. I'm also going to show you a few graphs in the coming few minutes, so you are well aware of how the graphs look like. So this is a normal graph. I hope everyone has understood it, that when also there are some findings written, like FT means the first desire to void, ST means the strong desire to void, and this shows the maximum capacity, which means the total capacity of the bladder, which is 400 to 600. Okay.
Yeah, and this is a picture that has been specifically coming in the past few recalls, that sometimes they tend to give the normal graph so that you can take the management further from there as well. Even in sometimes postpartum urinary retention or postpartum urinary dysfunction, voiding dysfunction, they have
Okay,
given this
so all
graph,
my
the normal. So you have to just have a picture in your mind that this is a normal one, and when a normal finding is given, then you have to take the management further from their point onwards.
Yes, very well said. It is really an important picture and it has really been coming in exams. And at end of presentation, for all my active participants and for the listeners as well, I have 5 questions as well. So you need to listen them very carefully because I'll be asking you to attempt the graphs. Okay. Okay, so these are the normal capacities. The normal bladder capacity is 400 to 600. The first sensation is usually felt at 150 to 250. These basically have to be learned. They have to be learned for the purpose of solving the graphs. Then there is a strong desire, which is 400 to 600. The detrusor filling is 15 centimeter of water. Like 5 to 15 was the normal value, as I told you. The voiding pressure, the detrusor pressure during filling should be 15, and during voiding should be less than 8, which means the bell curve that then the voided volume 220 to 320, then the residual volume. Okay, so residual volume is also very important. It should be less than 50. So most of the times when the urodynamic testing is being performed, the residual volume is also measured. For example, in the setting of cystometry as well, or in the setting of uroflowmetry as well, the patient is asked to void. And when the patient voids, after the uroflowmetry, the patient has already voided during the uroflowmetry. So afterwards, we have 2 methods to check that what is the residual volume. One method is the catheterization, that the patient is catheterized and we see that how much is the volume. And the second method is that we can check it by ultrasound at how much is the volume. Ultrasound is usually considered to be a superior one. Also, there is one important point for part 3 students here, that in the urodynamics or in the urogynecology, the ultrasound is not much used. It is only used when we have to check the residual volume. Or so the ultrasound use is usually limited to only checking the residual volume in urogynecology in most of the cases. So this is an important point. Okay, so here you can see that this graph also shows that this is the pre-vesical, this is the pre-detrusor, and this one is the pre-abdominal, and this one is the normal desired, this is a strong desired, strong desired, and maximum capacity. Okay, so these are all the things that we check via cystometry. Cystometry is very important to check all these things, and it also excludes whether patient is having stress urinary incontinence, whether patient is having overactive bladder, or whether patient is having mixed incontinence. Okay, so here again, I'm going to show you this graph. Okay, so you can see this. I hope it is clear. Okay, there is a bell-shaped curve in normal voiding phase, and these are all the pressures I've already showed you.
Anam, Leo.
Please mute your mics. Dr. A.L. Tabinda, please mute your mics.
Please mute your mic, Dr. Tabinda.
Please mute your mics, everyone. Thank you so much. Okay. Okay, so this is also a normal graph that I'm going to show you. Here you can see that this is the vesical pressure, this is the abdominal pressure, and both the other pressures raised, but all the filling phase. And this one at the last portion shown here, this is the voided volume. So here you can see again the pre-detrusor that rises in the voiding phase, but during the whole filling phase, it remains normal. So this is also a normal graph, and you can also see its interpretation that on cuffing, the abdominal and vesical pressure do increase, but the detrusor pressure will remain normal. Also, if you, okay, so this is a normal graph. Okay, so coming to the most important one, important graphs now. First, we have stress urinary incontinence. So you know that what the patient presents within stress urinary incontinence is that the patient presents in such a way that whenever the patient does some heavy exercise, some strenuous activity, any cough, then the patient leaks the volume of urine. So how it is seen on the urodynamic graph, I'm going to show you. There is a very important tip. Today, basically, I was thinking that I should make it so easy for you that the moment you see the graph, you are able to pick it up. And by the end of presentation, I'm really hopeful that you all learn it very well. So that there is a very small tip for SUI, that there is a change in pre-abdominal and there is a leak. So whenever you see that this is the vesical pressure, this is the abdominal pressure, and this is the pre-detrusor. So whenever the detrusor remains normal, by any means, sometimes it is only a point which is shown, sometimes there is a small line, sometimes there is a small mountain-shaped curve. So it can be anything on the lower graph, on the flow rate graph. So this one shows that the pre-detrusor and pre-abdominal are rising, detrusor is normal, and there is a leak. So basically the tip is that pre-vesical and pre-abdominal are rising and there is a leak on the graph. So this is a graph of stress urinary incontinence. Okay, so this one is a normal one. Here you can see that in the same normal graph, leaks. then it becomes a graph of stress urinary incontinence. I hope you have understood the stress urinary incontinence well. Okay, so here you can see that the P detruser is fine, but there is a leak. So this is increased abdominal and vesical pressure, and there is a leak. So this one is stress urinary incontinence. The urodynamic graphs can be sometimes scary, sometimes they can be normal, but in any case, you don't have to worry at all. You just have to see the abdominal, whether there is leak or not. This is all you need to see at the level of MRCOG 1, MRCOG level 2, or MRCOG level 3. Nothing else is expected at this level. And here you can see the flow graph, which is a bell-shaped curve, the yellow one. You can see that there in the voiding phase, there is a bell-shaped curve. So this one is the uroflowmeter curve. Okay, so again, you can see this is the same graph. I'm showing the leak here. Okay, so this one was all about stress urinary incontinence. Then I'm going to go about detuser overactivity. Okay, so here is the detuser overactivity, and you can see the tip I have made for you. When the vesicle and detuser pressure are rising, but there is no leak, then it means that it is detuser overactivity. See, this is a vesicle. So it is not necessary that you will be given it with cuff, because sometimes in detuser overactivity, even if the patient is not cuffing, there is a rise in bladder pressure, due to which there is a rise in detuser pressure. So you can see that only normal. Sometimes if the cuff is given along with it, the P abdominal may also be rising, but it's more than 15. This means that this is a detuser overactivity, and there should be no leak here. Okay, so this one is the detuser overactivity. Well, the overactive bladder and detuser overactivity, let me ask. Okay, so Kim, can you tell me what is the difference between overactive bladder and detuser overactivity?
Detrusal overactivity is diagnosed based on urodynamic. The another one will be based on history.
Yes, very well done, Kim. You are quite clear about your concept in this. Basically, overactive bladder, when it is diagnosed on the urodynamic chart, we call it as detrusor overactivity as well. Well done, Kim. Okay, so here you can see another graph. I've taken it from your talk article, but again, detrusor pressure is rising. Back it is more than, so it is more than 15, which means that this is detrusor overactivity. Vesicle is rising, detrusor is rising, there is no leak. This means that this is detrusor overactivity. And here you can see the uroflowmeter. Back it is around 200, which is normal. So here you can only see that there is detrusor overactivity. Okay, so again, I have this graph for you, no leak, which means that this is detrusor overactivity. Okay, so if anyone has any doubts, let me know.
No, ma'am, clear.
Okay. Okay, so here I'm going to show you the mixed incontinence. The mixed incontinence shows detrusor pressure is rising. The detrusor and the overactive bladder also shows there is leak. This means that it is mixed incontinence. With that, there is a leak. So detrusor overactivity along with leak means that this is mixed incontinence. And sometimes the mixed incontinence is very difficult to pick as well, because also. But how we have to treat the mixed incontinence? We have to treat the mixed incontinence simply by following that what is the predominant symptom. For example, if the patient says that, okay, I have a problem, that's I have to go to the washroom again and again, and there is a lot of urgency, but sometimes there is also a leak along with that. So in this scenario, you can see that the overactive bladder is the major concern the patient has come to you with. So all the treatment will go according to the overactive bladder. Same goes likewise, that if the patient is having more problem with the leaking and there is also urgency along with that, so you have to treat the most predominant symptom. I hope you have understood that how we read the graph. We have vesicle and detrusor pressure. Detrusor is raising, which means that there is detrusor overactivity. Along with that, there is a leak. So this means that this is having stress urinary incontinence plus overactive bladder. And this means that the patient is having mixed incontinence. Okay, so here you can see. Okay, so here you can see that this is a very bad graph, but I have to put it intentionally so I can see that if you can easily, so after that, the other graphs will not be much difficult for you. So this is the vesical pressure, and this is the abdominalizing, which means there is detrusor overactivity and there is a leak as well. So this is a mixed one. Okay, so before going to the questions, I would like to ask all my students that if they have understood everything very well, because after that, I'm going to start with the presentations. Okay, so is anyone having any questions regarding the interpretation of graphs? I can repeat that too, because I do have questions for everyone who is listening. Any questions?
You can, yes, Dr. Nazish, you can ask a few questions so that you can see that have they understood.
Okay, so I'm going to take, Amna, are you available?
Yes, I'm here.
Amna, I cannot listen to you. Are you available, please?
Yes, I'm here. Can you listen
Okay,
me?
okay. So this is the first graph for you. Please interpret and let us know what it is.
So in this, P vesicle is increasing, P abdominal is normal, and P detrusor is increasing. So it's and there is no leak. So it is detrusor overactivity.
Very well done. So I'm going to the second graph. Do we have Tabinda here? Tabinda? Are you here, Tabinda?
Dr. Tabinda?
Okay, so is there any volunteer?
Yes, doctor, can I do it?
Yes, sure, please. What's your
So we
name?
have here, yeah, Anan. So vesical pressure, it's increasing the vesical pressure, and there is this trousseau pressure also increase.
Yes.
And I don't know whether there is leak or not. Is there any
There
leak?
is no leak shown.
So we have the trousseau overactivity without leak. There is two types, either the trousseau
Very well
overactive with leak or without leak. This is it, look, without leak.
Very well done. You have correctly interpreted it. And thank you for attending the lecture as well. I hope it was understandable to you.
Yeah, yes, doctor, but I have some internet issue. Sorry before that time. Otherwise, it's okay.
Okay, I will try to put it on the internet as well for the easy access. Okay. Okay, so
I guess next one, if you
are you here?
Yes.
Please interpret it.
From the graph, the P abdomen and also the P vesicle is increased with Vasava, and then the tracer pressure is normal, and I think there is a leak, right? The small round shape there. Is it? There is a leak,
Yes, there is.
and this is stress urinary incontinence.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. What did you say? What is the definition?
The urodynamic graph show a stress urinary incontinence.
Okay, so why is the detrusor rising, Kim?
The detrusor, it didn't rise, right? The abdomen and the vesicle pressure is increased.
Yes.
Or as so I think it's a stress urinary incontinence.
Okay, so Kim, I'm going to repeat the mixed one for you because this one is a mixed one.
Oh, okay.
So it was tricky about it. Okay, so what happens in the mixed is that you get the picture just like in vesicle overactive. Along with that, this means that this is mixed incontinence. Whenever it is a only stress urinary incontinence, you will never see the detrusor rising. Okay, Kim?
Makes you never see. Okay, all right.
Okay, so
But just now, the graph just now, I thought the detrusor is
yes, please.
normal.
The-
I mean the graph, the one you show, the P detrusor is flat, right? Or it's not?
Let
Yes,
me
Dr.
see it
Nadesh, I
again.
have also the same.
It is rising.
It's
The vesicle and abdomen. Oh, sorry. Yes, you
yes,
are right. It
because
is
it's
stress
not
urinary
rising the
incontinence.
detrusor.
Yeah, it is. Sorry, I misinterpreted it as detrusor. So I was thinking what Kim is doing, but you are very right about it. The vesicle and abdominal are rising along with the leak, so it is stress urinary incontinence. Okay.
Okay, all
Very
right.
well done, Kim.
Okay.
Okay, who's going to do the next one?
And sometimes in the recent records, they give a diagram in which the leak is just shown by a yellow line, a straight vertical yellow line. So sometimes the students are unable to recognize the leak. So if you see somewhere rising along with the abdominal and the vesical pressure, there is a yellow line on the flow meter. The down line is there, yellow line. So it is a stress incontinence. But in the recent recall, in the November exam, they gave mixed incontinence. So mixed incontinence chart was given, and
Okay, so we have Rekha as well. Rekha, can you interpret this?
Yes, this is increase in the vesical pressure along with the increase in the abdominal pressure, but it is a pressure line is straight, and also there is a leak, so it is stress urinary incontinence.
Yes, very well done. So I hope
Genuine stress urinary incontinence.
Okay, sorry.
Genuine stress urinary incontinence.
Yes, very well done. Very well done. So do you have any questions before we go for the proper lecture for the part 3 students?
No, ma'am.
Any questions? Okay, if anyone has any questions, we are open to the questions, and after that we will be starting the session for part 3 students.
Yeah, Doctor, please, do you have the link for your group in the Telegram? Is there any
Sorry,
free
what
group?
did you say?
Can you put it here, please, in the message? The link for a free Telegram group or
Yeah.
your group. You have
Dr.
it?
Anam, I'm just giving you my WhatsApp number. You can text me and then I will share you
Okay,
the
so
details.
it's not possible to put it in this group because many of my colleagues they ask for this your group. Is it possible to
Yes,
put it
ma'am.
here
Also,
in
we
this?
want your link.
Yeah, I'm just sending you my WhatsApp number. All of you just drop me a text and I'll share the link with you.
Okay.
Just a
Okay,
second.
so
In
let
the
me try
chat
if I can open.
in the chat box, I'm just going to write the number and then you all can drop your text and I'll add you soon. Or I'll share the link. Okay. So can you all see the number that I've just posted in the chat box? That's the WhatsApp number. So please drop a text and I'll share the links. Because at the moment I don't have the Telegram in the laptop. Dr. Nazish, if you do have the Telegram link or the WhatsApp link, can you please post it here for the students? Okay, presentations and get your paper and pen. Try to write it as well.
I'm going to put down the link as well. Just give me a minute.
I guess I'm sending you. You can check there.
To get the part 1 or part 3 links.
Here they can for the
Part
follow.
3
Dr. Nazish,
Part
can
3, ma'am.
group
in
link?
both.
Yes, they can. On laptop, we don't have Telegram and WhatsApp. We have, and I'm going to post it as soon as I get the mail. Yeah, okay, I'll post it. You can continue with the presentations.
And Dr. Sana will be posting part 1 and part 3 links for you. Okay, so we are going to start the session. First presenter. Okay, so first of all, we have a session